Hey Jim, welcome to Vivid.
Hello.
How are you?
Thank you, sir. Very good. How
Awesome.
you doing today?
Very good,
It's
very
great.
good.
This has been a great episode so far from what I've seen.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a lot of actionable stuff, so I'm really excited. I'm learning myself, so this is really a great time for me too.
Good. That's even
Yeah,
better.
yeah, absolutely. So Jim, I know you're a longtime Vivid member. Any words of wisdom you want to share on this session, or maybe a key takeaway you want Vivid members to know um, about
Well,
ITOM in general or this session?
right. A lot of the things that we're actually doing right now, especially within the IRS, we're using a lot of the OpenView suites and everything else. And for I guess the other users that are out there, Vivid has been around as everybody knows for a very long time, and we've been actually using all the HP product or now Micro Focus products, and it's been there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of better information. There's more stuff that's coming out that we're actually able to cope on and understand a lot more. So it's been a wake up, and it's been and especially for what we've actually implemented within Derdack, we the tools actually work really well together, which we've actually found out.
Very cool. All right, Jim. So first question is about Derdack. They want to know, why do you want Derdack instead of any of the other products that are out there for your use?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So one of the parameters that we looked at when we're trying to decide, okay, what are we going to use? Why are we changing the what we already had to use Derdack? Well, one of the big base was we're the IRS. So one of the things is we want to make sure all pertinent information is being blocked from all end users. Not only that, but we can't send it out to the cloud. The product that we were using was using strictly cloud. The other thing is we wanted to also, if we do decide to go to the cloud, this is also offered within Derdack. A lot of the other players did not have that, didn't also use the tools that we actually have, and we didn't want to buy new tools to get into the understand within the IRS.
Very cool. So why is it cloud important to you? Is that a direction you see your company going in
Yeah,
the future?
well, we're the government. We can't see a lot of the stuff. Can't see a lot of stuff that's happening in the government. So no, that's so we are actually going into a cloud base, but they're moving slowly, but we're surely moving into the direction of the cloud because there is a lot more to offer within the cloud, especially with what we're actually doing. We have a lot more security, and that's the main base of what we're actually doing. And this is one of the things that Derdack and some of our other micro focus products have is that security, and we can actually put that into play a lot better.
Very cool. All right, another question, Jim. They want to know, is NNM and OM supported? Any thoughts of upgrading to NOM and OpsBridge?
Well, as everybody knows, we don't want to take everybody's funding, especially within the IRS. We actually want to stay with the tools that we actually have because this way we're not actually grabbing more from the general public for the money that we actually are allocated. As you know, there's a lot of growth, especially with what we're actually using now, and way we're looking at is why change something when it's working.
Very cool. Jim, another question. You mentioned something about an Itok group. Is that a best practice you've created, or is that? Can you just tell us a little bit more about the Itok group?
So the ITOC is within the IRS. So it's just a separate group that we've actually separated. That we want to make sure that we're up at all times. So what they've done is created a separate group that 24/7 that we're always going to be up there. There's never going to be an outage, and this is one way for us to find out. Hey, is there an outage? Is there a P1 P2 ticket? So this group actually identifies that there's this outage or possibly outage, and they're able to get the executives the technical personnel on the phones quick and try to get everything resolved in a matter of times. So that was the main focus why they actually created this Itok Group.
Very cool. All right, next question from the user. They want to know, how did you find the Derdack solution?
Well, yeah, finding the solution. That's always the issue that that everybody has. Well, so we actually looked on. Actually, I was one of the people that actually did this. So I Googled and tried to find out what areas that actually hold in what we actually have. The service manager, the operations manager, the avenues of where we can actually grow, and then the other part is what products offer cloud computing and standard computing that we actually can use right now as what we're looking for. And there's a lot of different operations that we were going to use, but the best one that was going to be able to grow with us and for what we were able to use it with and how we were going to be able to grow, we figured Derdack would be the better growth. Plus the support that we've actually gotten with two of the other ones, they weren't greatly supported until we actually bought them. So we actually started with Derdack, and they won the overall picture of what we were actually going to grow with that company.
Very cool. So this question kind of has a little of overlap, but just in case, what finally made your decision for using Derdack for alerting and for your operations? Once you did find them, how'd you know this is the one?
Yeah, this is the one. Yeah. So so how is one the overall growth? That's where we looked at it. They were so one of the big parameters that we saw that they were able to grow. They were able to get into the cloud where we're actually looking at the population and how it's going to grow within our systems, the amount of users that we actually have, and how much it's going to cost us overall within support, within the overall growth within our the organization, and how is it going to be benefiting the other groups that we're going to be able to go out with. On top of it, one of the big things that we actually brought into it was the amount of alerting that we can actually grow within Derdack, that which actually said, yeah, this is the thing that we need, because we're able to do automatic alerts out to all users, didn't matter where they were. So if there was a bad weather or something, that we were able to send massive alerts out to every user within the IRS. So that was one big thing that draw a lot of the executives into this using the Derdack.
Cool. So Jim, you also showed the end user events info report. Is that a canned report, and are there a lot of reports there that are actionable to help folks?
Yes. So they actually have already canned reports that are already built in, and especially with what you actually use. If you use SQL, you can actually create your own reports that are actually driven off of what you're looking for, especially for the issues that you're actually looking for. Especially for you're trying to find out who got called, what calls that got made for the different users. Say, for instance, I'm an administrator. I want to know if my end user was called. Did they have any issues? Did they miss a call because they didn't answer the phone, or is it that we had the wrong number? So these are the kind of reports that are canned that we didn't have to create. It was already there. So that really helped, and we were able to build on from that to what we're actually really looking for.
Very cool. James, another question. The user wants to know, what is the best part of Derdack with Micro Focus software?
So the best part I can see right now is the growth. They actually integrate with all of pretty much Micro Focus's software. Plus, outside of the Microsoft software, they have a lot of the third parties that they actually integrate pretty well with. One of the big things that we're actually working on now is what we call Kazam, which is Service Manager. So that is a big plus, because what we want to do is we want to start automating. So when someone gets an alert, we're able to automate it, and it was pretty quick for this going, especially with operations and how we were actually getting the events. It was driven and quickly done, getting to set up the alerts and getting it into an end user so they were able to resolve the issue. So hopefully that answers the person's question.
Yeah, I was going to ask you more about Kazam, but I think you just is Kazam just the name you gave it for your group?
So that was a good question, and I tried to look it up because I was trying to figure out, okay, what does Kazam stand for? So it's an internal name for a product which is Service Manager. It's Knowledge Incident Problem Service Assessment Management.
Very cool.
So
reminds me of Shazam. Once again, I'm aging myself. Shazam! It's Kazam.
That's right.
That's right. All right, next question, James. And they want to know, tell us more about the use of OO.
Oh, good question. So that so right now we have as you know, everybody knows OO Orchestrator. So we've actually implemented a lot of the tools within OO, within Derdack, and for NNM. So mainly right now we're using it within NNM. When we get events, it actually validates those particular events. And is the system really the server or the switch down? Is it down? If it we actually have some running scripts that we actually use automatically. On top of that, they're now implementing within Kazam, which is Service Manager. We're actually running some other OO events that actually can open and close a lot of the alerts that we're getting right now. So as you know, OO is mainly for a lot of scripting. It's already done within the system, and then we're just making the use of the tools that we already own. And it helps that it's used within our products and the other products that were coming into the organization.
Very cool. So this is kind of a common question here. We've been getting asked from a few speakers, and they want to know, how big is your messaging team? Is it 24/7?
Yeah. It's me, myself, and I. It's all three of us. No, so we so it's a one of the big part of this is the tools do a lot of what you actually want, and that was one of the best things about this. Let the tools do the job, and then we're there to fix whatever issues the tools can't provide, or whatever the instance it's coming across. What can't the tools do? So there's a lot of automated stuff that we're actually trying to do right now. That's where we're trying to get it. So we're a 24/7 shop. We actually have after hours. We have multiple groups that get assigned for the tickets. They're actually on these. They're after hours, so they get an on call. It's usually 1 week, then the next week that you're off. And it's usually 6 to 8 people that are on each one of those groups, and then there's multiple groups that we're actually sending a lot of these alerts to. So it's a pretty good group that we actually have that's assigning all this. Not many, but because mainly what we're looking at is let the tools do the job, and then we fix whatever is not working, and then go from there.
Awesome. So we have a licensing question next. And they want to know, is OO a separate product license, or is it part of NNM?
So yeah, it's a separate product license. Within Derdack, it's not. So you get the full range of what you're actually using within Derdack, and how you're going to use it. Doesn't matter what you're going to use within the if this is you're integrating your tools you're just integrating your tools. It doesn't matter if you're integrating Kazam, Service Manager, all of it's provided. ServiceNow, if today you're going to use that, all of that's provided. There's no separate license that is needed that we've actually had to do. So we got the everything that was already part of that. As you already heard, the other Derdack people that were already on, they can actually probably answer if there was other questions on that. They could probably answer it more. So all I know is what the IRS has done and how we're actually using within our license.
Very cool. And Jim, in your session, you mentioned something about making sure end users aren't flooded with events. Is that a built-in feature that allows you to do that, like to make sure that? Yeah.
Well, as you know, is if an end user is going to get 20,000 emails and 20,000 events, they say, this is useless. Why am I getting all this? So you want to more or less make sure the end users are getting what they need, and we actually do. We've actually programmed this a lot of where N&M sends, like I said, N&M sends the events to from our operations manager. There's where we actually cut a lot of the traffic down. Is Service Manager, Service Manager now, we actually have filters. Some of those filters, we're catching a lot of the garbage that's coming in, and we take those out. So we're only triggering on specific events that people are going to really look at why they need these events. They don't need all of the information in these. There's separate ones that they get those, but for the criticals, those are the ones that they really need to be understanding, because that's where they're going to make sure that they're going to get addressed and worked on. And that's the main point, is you need to make sure that they're not getting flooded. And that's what we try to make sure they don't. So.
Very nice. All right. Another question. Lisa wants to know, how was the adoptions of this solution by the end user? Was it a hard sell, hard to train?
The end user, I just told them that this is what you're using, just use it. No. Yeah, that's what I wish you could just say that.
No doubt.
Yeah. So no, it was actually pretty well. I actually had really a lot of help with Derdack engineers. They gave us a helping hand on creating our document, especially for the end users. With that, I was able to give the main group that uses this, which is the Itok Group. I spent a week over there giving them a hands-on. This is how you're going to use it. This is where you're going to be getting all the events. Get them, and then also get them a knowledge article. This is how to make sure that we're getting this correctly. And if you actually have any issues or what at all, here's my number and everything. And so far they haven't been too bad. If they're listening to this, they're gonna say no, we're bad. But yeah, other than that, the end users have been really understanding, especially when we had to change a product to use the Derdack, especially for filing season. There's a lot of readiness that you have to do, making sure everybody's trained, understanding what to look for, make sure their tools are there, so when there's a major outage, that they want to be understanding, yeah, this is going to be affecting us. So we set that up and made sure that everybody understood how this was going to be suited for them.
So was there a big selling point that you told them, like, hey, it's going to save you X amount of time, or something to really wet their whistle on?
Yeah. So the way we were actually win this, exactly, my executives to other executives and to a lot of the end users, we actually showed them how much time this was going to save them for one, getting the alerts, how the call and how that sounded within the call. The call quality, it didn't sound automated. It sounded like a real person's calling you. And that was a key feature where a lot of people are saying it's too automated. So that's one of the things that drew this in for us a lot. And then we're able One of the things that I know for a fact that I've done is I've changed the voices. Some of them are male, some of them are female, some of them's Australian. So it takes a amount of who you're going to get on the call, and not only that, but it helps me. This is what people didn't know. It helps me understand which system's calling who, because from the voice, I can understand which server it's coming from.
Oh, that's a good tip.
So if yeah, so it was really nice. So it was something that was able to identify this way to the end users and how the end users are going to be getting it. And if they had an issue, hey, by the way, who called you? And so they can actually give you a better understanding. Because, oh, I know what the problem is. So, and resolve it really quick.
That's a great hack. That's a great tip. Okay, James, another question.
Okay.
Is the filtering done in NNM or Derdack?
So filtering, so multiple places. So we have filtering from NNM is none. So we're sending all the traps, everything that's coming from NNM to OM. OM does some of the traps, sets some of the alerts that we're not sending over to Derdack. So there's a filter there. On top of that, Derdack itself actually has its own filter. So if in case we actually say that we have a BGP issue or something else, we are specifically stating a filter just for BGP errors and stuff on that end. On top of that, when you want to get particular critical events, we actually have a filter within Derdack that these events are going just for criticals to these particular people. So they're saying, okay, this is something that I need to do because it's critical and it's operation percent. The other part, which we've actually done with the filtering, is set up in the subject name. As I showed it in the some of the events, when the end user sees it in the subject, they don't even really have to click on the email. They can see this is what the problem is. Boom, get right onto it and fix the issue before it's really caused more of an issue. So that's more of the filtering that we've actually set up within all the products that we're using.
Awesome stuff. All right, Jim, another question from the user. How many alerts have you set up on average?
78 alerts right now. So we're sending out 78 alerts. Those are network alerts. Those are standard network alerts. On top of it, each of our end users have their own groups. So we have to set up their own particular alerts. Once you set them up, it's good. Unless the end users, one of the end users wanted something changed, so we can actually just go to their particular alert and change it. So it's not a lot of admin work that you actually have to do. Once the alerts are set up, they're set up, and it's going to run, especially when it's coming from our operations manager and how it's actually coming across from the traps that are coming from the end devices. So that helps.
Very cool. All right. So this next question, they want to know, what has been the worst that you have seen so far with Derdack with using Micro Focus software?
Am I allowed to say this? Let me think. Yeah. Yeah. I want to renew my license, so I need to make sure. No. I'd say the worst. Okay, so one of the issues that we actually had, so the calls. So the calls have been going through, but it's the alerts. There's new paths that we've actually had to come across, where we actually had garbled events coming in. So we actually had to really realize, how is this going to affect the end users? How are they going to see it, and who's not getting these calls? So there was a failure on that part, which within Derdack, they were actually able to help us from the log files. So that is what took us longer time period to actually resolve. But in overall worst scenario, uh, setting up that's what it is. Setting up the HA configuration from one place to another, and it's not a Derdack issue; it's an IRS issue because you can't do that. so so there's a lot of things that you have to do behind the scenes that you because of security and everything else. But overall, it's working, and it works for if we fail over, it fails over immediately. So I got it timed out. So if one of our Derdacks dies within 10 minutes, it's already taken over. So a failover capability is pretty high. Nice. And that was one of the hot topics that we actually had to sell. So which really helped us.
Beautiful. All right. So another question. They want to know, what is the key Derdack component you use most? And I would add, what is one component that you don't think people use enough of?
So right now, the key component that we don't use enough of is the integration to Service Manager. One of the key components of this is automation. So you want the automation to work. So one of the best parts about this is we have a lot of technologies that are at hand to us right now. We just have to start using and getting that because you got other groups that are assigned to different things. Just trying to get the people within our area to actually work within what you're actually doing to get them on board and saying, hey, this is what we need. And they have to understand what you need, but no, I need a diagram and everything else to try to figure out what they want. And then you have to spend more time, which makes time consuming. And so so that's, I would say, yes, more or less making sure the automation works. And that's where I would think that you want a lot of that working for you, because if it's automated, it's less work that you're having to do as on administrative side. So that helps us out. And then we can get to other things that we need to work on.
Very nice. All right, Jim, another question. This one's from Rocky. And we need a good plug for Vivid. So what is your experience with Vivid from Rocky?
So my experience with Vivid. So I used to be the New England chapter leader. So that's where I first came into Vivid, in which actually used to be the OpenView Forum way back. So and now that I've gotten into the IRS, I'm able to do a lot more with the Vivid and get more inside with Vivid, let them know how we're actually doing things, or not really how we're doing things, but give them demonstrations, give them presentations like I'm doing here today, which I really appreciate Rocky and them reaching out to me for this time to give my presentation. And hopefully everybody enjoyed what I've given, and can't wait to talk to everybody at the end.
Awesome. So great stuff, Jim. Really appreciate it. Love these real world situations where you actually have success in sharing it with folks. Thank you for all the tips you shared, and can't wait to see you in the roundtable. Any last words of wisdom now before we leave?
Nope. Just everybody. There's tools out there. Just let your tools do the job. That's the whole point. Why the tools are there. We're there to make sure that we're getting the right information out to the people, and as long as we're getting the information out to the people, the other everything else is going to come into play and work with the way we're supposed to work. So thanks again and look forward to talking to everybody at the roundtable.
Awesome. Thanks again, Jim. See you later. Cheers. Bye-bye.